Hey guys, Lord here, back in with another action figure review, doing something a little bit different today, because today we'll be taking a look at the Mattel Creations / San Diego Comic-Con 2021, is it? Exclusive Masterverse, Masters of the Universe Revelation, Scareglow. Ooga booga 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 booga. Brought to us by the fine folks over at, say it with me now, Mattel. And don't worry, you're going to get a break from my Dwayne The Rock Johnson thing for a while, because this is the last Masterverse review I'll be doing for a little bit. I got to change it up. We've been doing MOTU stuff for, heck, a little over 2 weeks straight now. I think it's time to move right along to something a little bit different. A lot different. If you watch the review I'll be posting tomorrow. That said, this review is brought to you in part by my good buddy Evil Villain over on Instagram. I'll leave a link in the description below, so you can go give him a follow. Let him know Overlord sent you, but don't be a jerk face, or I'll find you and you will be dealt with hastily and swiftly, and probably disposed of and never heard from again. So, with that being said, he was nice enough to hook up this Comic-Con edition of the Masterverse Scareglow for, I think I traded him the Gargoyles Bronx from NECA, which I actually still have as of the time I'm recording this video. I'm hoping to have shipped that to his butt by now, but let's just say the reason I haven't shipped him his package yet is technically not my fault. But we won't get into that here. That said, he was super duper cool enough to hook up this Scareglow for essentially retail price, based off the trade we did. So I can't thank him enough for that. I was so PO'd when I got screwed out of this figure, and I couldn't be happier to have it in my possession now. If you watch my, I want to say the Revelation He-Man, the first Revelation He-Man Masterverse Mattel did, I kind of talked about it there and used a lot of sentence enhancers, as they say. But without further ado, let's cut right to the chase and get into the meat and taters of this review, because we gotta unbox this thing. I'm hoping this video isn't gonna run too long, because we already did take a look at the Scareglow figure before, so I might post a link to that video in the description below as well. Taking a look-see at the packaging. It comes in the brown ship box with the MOTU logo plastered right across the front there, in case you forgot what series it's from. And it also has a little Comic-Con sticker right down there in case you got confused and thought this was a New York Comic-Con offering. It's not. You had to pay thousands of dollars to get a plane ticket and a hotel room at San Diego to get this back when it came out. Did they even have Comic-Con back then? I actually don't think they did. This was just an online thing, so why is it even... I don't see the point of that. And then on the back it's got the same thing. So, we are going to unbox this mother and take a look-see at the beast within. Slide it out here. Set it off to the side. A little paper fell out. And I can only assume that these are instructions on how to take care of the batteries. So we'll just plop those back in here. But here is the Scareglow box in all of its glory. Very, very dark indeed. Kind of looks like a book, if you will. It's got this nice skull on the front. Then on the back it's got this pattern here. Not quite sure what that's supposed to be, but very, very cool. This piece actually is a slip cover. In a sense, you can take it right off. Set that off to the side there. And now we have the beast within starting to be a little exposed there. You can see his little noggin. His little Scareglow noggin right there. You can see it. But this front, or this side of the box is open. So it's got some cuts here, so you can see the figure. Then on the back, you can see his big purple cape. And it does have a plastic window here. But very, very cool. What's even cooler is when you open this thing up, if I set it here, you do get a little light in the top that flashes like thunder, and it kind of illuminates the figure a bit. It does it for a little while too, if you could see that flashing up there. It's not the brightest light in the world, but it does work. And actually, he sent this to me without the batteries because, you know, stuff leaks over time, and if he had left them in there, could have ruined the box. But thankfully, my Mezco 1/12 Collective Ghost Rider bike had 3 watch batteries that fit this thing. So, yeah, everything's coming full circle here at Overlord Productions, to say the very least. That said, there's the battery compartment right here. Just take a screwdriver to it and you can take it out. That said, there is this secondary flap here that allows you to get a little closer to the figure. Now you can see that light a little bit better. Maybe. It's not the brightest thing in the world, to be honest. I was expecting this really bright light. But there you can see Scareglow in his spooktacular glory with his halberd there. There is this version of the power sword off to, well, our left, his right, and then his 2 extra hands right here above the button for the light. And the light's up in this corner here. You can see my thumb, it's right there. So, closing this up, we are actually going to cut this here. I'm going to take him out of the box, because that can sometimes be easier said than done. And we will be right back with a closer look at Scareglow. Booga 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 booga. And with the power of movie magic, or maybe some black Saturnian magic, the world may never know, here we have Scareglow opened up and out of his packaging in all his ghostly, ghastly, ghoulish glory, looking pretty frickin' sweet indeed. Now, a full disclaimer, I'm not gonna run through the articulation of this figure in this video, since I did do a review of the retail version of this character. So I think I'm actually going to leave a link in the description below to my review of that version, so you can check that out if you're oh so curious about what this figure has to offer, because it's essentially the same thing. The only thing really exclusive here are the colors, the packaging, the wired cape, which we will get into that a little bit more in a minute here. And there is one accessory that is actually exclusive to this version, but in the way of Scareglow's accessories, speaking of which, he does come with the same alternate hands as the retail release. He's got the open, smack you across the mouth hand, and the fist hand, or the punch you right in the kisser hand. Lots of hits to the face around Overlord Productions for some reason. That said, the exclusive accessory here is this version of the Sword of Power. It's got these 2 blades that do pop out here. And you have them like this. They do snap together, kind of, sort of. Yes, they do. There's a tab right there. But all you do is you snap them in. And then you plug them into this. Like so. Should be worth noting, I think the blades glow in the dark. We'll test that out towards the end. Really gotta snap that in there to get it in there good, but there you go. It's got the little hilt there, so he can hold it in his hand, or he can hold the blades separately. You can do that as well. But it is literally like a big arse anime sword at this point. I mean, it's almost as big as he is. Some freaking Final Fantasy shiznit going on with that sword. And then he does come with his halberd, which has a glow-in-the-dark blade, a la the Masters of the Universe Classics Scareglow, which I do not have, and probably won't have unless I sell some stuff and make some money to buy it, because it is on eBay right now. That said, comparing it to the retail release, you can see the main difference is the blade color. This one is all solid color. This one is got the glow-in-the-dark blade, which actually feels like a different plastic from the rest of the handle, but I almost think that this one has like a finish on it to make the blade a little bit more shiny. That's why it is. That said, moving this guy over for a moment. Right there. Why don't we bring in the retail release of Scareglow? Where'd I put him? There he is. There he is. Our friend from... Gosh, how long has it been since I reviewed this figure? Almost 2 years? Either way, talk about the Wayback Machine, right? But there you could see them side by side. And the main difference is the Comic-Con version has the kind of neon green bone color on the body that better matches the color of the head, which is my main gripe with this retail version. Other than that, the retail version doesn't have the wired cape either. It just has the regular kind of, I don't know what you call this, felt cape. It just kind of hangs, which I almost prefer in a way. I like the fact that the cape can... It's taking a dive on me. I like the fact that the cape just kind of sits on him and doesn't really, you know, complicate things as far as the display goes. You can set him on the shelf and the cape's going to go down with him. Whereas this one, you got to have the wires posed right or else he'll be doing the Batman thing. So... yeah, I like the wired cape. I think it's a nice touch, but I also think that Mattel needs to learn how to do wired capes. They only wire the edge on the outside, and they don't have it go underneath the neck. And I'll pop his head off, and we'll look at that in a minute here. But yeah, that's the retail version for you. These yellowish bones. I will say the joints seem a little tighter on the retail version too, but it is what it is. I did have this guy sitting near my heater for a little bit. But taking a closer look at him, you can get a good look at those neon green bones. Dusty old bones full of green dust, as they say. But yeah, for the most part, the same figure. I believe the collar is the same color. The kind of waist skirt's the same color. The boots are the same color. Gauntlets are the same color. And if you have the Skeletor figure from Revelation, it's basically the same thing, other than maybe the lower arms. Because he's got a slightly slimmer build, which makes sense because he's a skeleton guy. But popping his noggin off here, we're going to do a little investigation on this cape here. So... I'll lay that down. So this cape, first of all, I cut the tag off, sue me. I don't like tags, they get in my way. They have this little collar piece here, but the wire doesn't run through it. This wire should be running through this collar piece. So that way when you pose this figure, or the cape, I mean, it will maintain like a pretty good pose. And unfortunately, because of that, the way they constructed it there, it's a little tricky. I mean, I can do it. I did it with King Grayskull, and it's essentially a similar situation to that. Or if you have the Evil Lyn deluxe figure from Mattel Creations, it's kind of like that too. But yeah, not the most ideal thing ever, but it does work. I will tell you, I think some wires going throughout the cape, like having like 2 or 3 extra wires outside of the 2 on the outside, would definitely help as well. Because then, you know, it'd be like fingers coming down. You could really pose it flaring up and out and make it look really, really cool. And it's kind of the problem I had with the Figura Obscura Headless Horseman from Four Horsemen Studios. He didn't have wires going through his cape that allowed them to stay up. Or allowed it to stay up, I should say. And this felty material does have a tendency to stick to itself, so that's not ideal either, but that's basically it, man. I like this figure a lot already. This particular colorway, it just does something for me. The neon green looks a little bit closer to the show, which even though my boy here got cucked out by literally all my least favorite characters, Tila, Orko, and Evilwyn, I still think Tony Todd did a bang-up job as this character, and I look forward to seeing him in Revolution. Just, you know, writers, if Tila beats him again, can you not give her the cheesiest of cheeseball lines like, "I'm your worst nightmare"? Really? Get the frick out of here. That's effing stupid. But since this is going to be kind of a short review, we'll just bring these two out now, because it wouldn't be one of my videos without them. There's the Mythic Legion's Brother Mandibulus, and the 11 Spawn. And granted, while Scareglow's got a bit too much green to be a member of the Red and Black Club, which is an exclusive club for those of you who don't know, he definitely has enough black going on. I mean, his whole body is black. Kind of a smoky, translucent black, if I do say so myself. So, with that being said, let's now move right along and wrap things up with some final thoughts. Overall, and I gotta stand by my previous statement in saying that this figure right here is the definition of adding icing to a pretty solid cake, because while I did thoroughly enjoy the standard and or retail release of good old Scareglow here, I gotta tell ya, I much prefer this SDCC version, not only because he's got the wired cape, more accessories, better accessories if you want to count the halberd there, but the sheer fact that the skull head matches the bones painted on the body much better than that standard release is really what sells me on this figure. It looks a little bit more accurate to the Masters of the Universe Revelation series, and overall, not to be repetitive or anything, it just looks better. The other one, there was a lot of contrast between the head and the bones on the body. This one, not so much. So it's a more cohesive look. It's a much better look. I prefer it this way. I think it looks much better this way. And I can't thank my good buddy Evil Villain enough for giving me a really good deal on this figure, because the trade we worked out pretty much clocks this guy at about retail price, which you can't really get better than that when it comes to Comic-Con exclusives. Of course, there is clearance, which is always better, but last I checked, Comic-Con exclusives don't go on clearance, and even stuff that does, there's no guarantee it's going to do that in the first place, so better off to just try and get a good enough deal as you can before things go through the roof, because we all know people like to make a quick buck off of poor unfortunate souls, as that fat hag from Little Mermaid used to say. That said, before we wrap this thing up, why don't we take a closer look at the glow-in-the-dark features. And as promised, here's a closer look at the glow-in-the-dark features on good old Scareglow here, and yeah, unfortunately, much like the standard and or retail release of this figure, only the skull head glows on the figure itself. However, with this SDCC version, the sword/swords, whatever you want to call it there, also glow, but unfortunately, not the halberd. So I was a bit bamboozled by that because the blade was a different color from the rest of it, but yeah, it's just extra paint because it's a more expensive version of one I already had. So that kind of stinks, but you know what? I still prefer this version over the standard version. And if you got a blacklight, the bones that are painted on the body do glow like the dickens in that. So I guess you're better off just doing that. instead of relying on the glow-in-the-dark features to hold you over, as it were. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this review, and until next time, I'll catch you guys later.